question for you guys. What is the best way for an intern to ask for more responsibility?
Can you start with me?
Yeah.
One thing that I found while being an intern is to figure out what it is that people are doing there and see how you can help. I would always ask, is there anything that you need help with? Can I help you with this? Are you good at making sure that everybody's okay? That I think shows initiative, it shows that you care, and it shows that you want to help, and that's the type of people that they want to have around them. So I think just being vocal and asking really helps.
I think just from my experience, one thing that I kind of learned being an intern is, if you're passionate about like a specific, thing, I think it's important to ask your supervisor, like, I'm, interested in sales, like, what can I do to help more in sales? Maybe you're just doing a project you necessarily don't really like and you're not really learning from it. Obviously still always finish the project or task with a great attitude, whether you like it or not, but always like step up and like say, I want to learn more about like sales, or I want to learn more about marketing. What can I do to help? And I think that shows a lot of like, that you're passionate about what you do, and everyone's always there to help. And the more questions you ask and the more you are willing to do, the better experience you'll have from it, and you can take to your next job or your next internship, whatever. So just always ask questions, and like, even if it's not something you were assigned, just ask. All they can say is no. Never be afraid, because all they'll say is no, sorry, like you're here for this. But after like a few weeks of getting into the internship, and after you get to know them, and after you've kind of proven yourself, just ask. Because every day to my interns, I'm like, what do you want to learn? Like, what can I help you? I want you to take something from this. So just always ask questions, even if it's not something that you're there for, because they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Of course I'll give you a project in that area. So that's what I think.
Yeah, stemming off of that, don't afraid to be weird. Like, don't think your skills are weird. Like, I was really into Tumblr, and when I was an intern at HuffPost, I was like, listen, I know this is weird, but I'm like obsessed with this like whole teen weird thing on Tumblr, and they're like, oh, we'll own it. Like, do your own, like, run our Tumblr, and like, that would do that. And like, I was really interested in Pinterest. Now I'm running the Pinterest for the lifestyle section. So it's like, just build on what you love doing, because it's important. You might think it's like weird, but it's very important and can get you anywhere you want to be.
Okay, I'm going to open this up for you guys because of the time. Do you guys have any questions for them? Or you want me to continue? Okay, let's just continue. How did you approach becoming full-time when you were an intern? I think that's a great question.
Okay, so my story is a little bit different. I was an intern. I actually went to LIM, the grad program. Yeah. So, and I graduated in 2013. So while I was in school, I was interning at Fastenab. It's a French company. I was in wholesale, and then from there, I guess they liked what I did, or my work ethic, and they asked me to be a temp for a woman who was going on maternity leave in the accounting department. So I did that, stayed there until she got back, and then they asked me to stay longer to be a temp within logistics. So from there, I was thinking, okay, they keep asking me to stay, that they probably want to hire me full time. So I approached them, I asked what was going on. They said they were talking to the CEO about budget and all of that. So it turns out that there wasn't room in the budget for them to hire me full time, so I wasn't able to stay there. But after that, I was able to get references from them, and from there, I got the job that I'm in now. So wait, what was the question? I feel like I rambled.
How did you approach becoming full-time?
Okay, so, you can try to become full-time. It might not happen like it didn't for me, but you don't give up, because from that experience, you can always have some sort of connection, some sort of reference, anything that you can take from any experience you had interning. Keep it, hold on to it, use it later, where I am now, I started as a temp as well and became full-time. You just have to work hard. It has to be the right situation. You have to kind of feel it out, see if you being there could translate into anything. But throughout, just put in your all. At least if nothing comes from it, you know that you gave it your all, and that's, I think that's worth something. And for me, if something doesn't work out, I see it as, okay, then it wasn't meant to be. I tried my best. It didn't happen, time to move on. You learn something from that experience anyway.
Okay, so I have a pretty crazy story as well, just in terms of like asking for a job. So I kind of started off freshman year, I interned somewhere, and then I interned again, and I was so passionate about all my internships that freshman year I told my family, like, I can't come home for Christmas because I have to intern, the day after. So like, then, the next semester I had another internship, and then my last internship was with Elizabeth and James. And, I would stay late even if people left, like maybe it was an intern, but I would be the last one in the office, like all the time, just because I'm passionate about what I do, and when I love something, I obviously always give my 100%. And so this was sophomore year actually, and second semester sophomore year, and it was my second to last day of work, and I didn't need a job yet because I was still interning. But the second to last day, my supervisor sat me down and she was like, Hillary, like, we want to know if you want a job here. And I was like, I'm still in school, I can't. But this is my dream job, like, why are you doing this to me? But I did accept the job. I took a big risk by accepting it because it was going to be a full-time job, so that meant I had to do school part-time. So, my best guidance to you guys is, take a risk if you have the opportunity, but just know that school is very important and your degree is important. If you're not in my position, my thing is, even that I do with my interns now, we have weekly touch bases. If your boss or supervisor does not have a weekly touch base with you or every 2 weeks, ask them. Sit down with them and talk to them and tell them, I'm a senior and, is there any opportunity here? Because you don't want to get yourself excited about something that might not happen. So you have to communicate. Communication is key, and your supervisors will help you if there's not something available at, where you're working, because they want you to be just as successful. So just make sure you're communicating and be like, is there opportunity for me here? If not, like, what do you think, would be my best next step? So it's all about communicating, guys, because, there's all of us want a job in New York, and, if you don't communicate, it can be really bad because you can get yourself set up for something that's not going to happen. So, after you get to know everyone at your company and feel comfortable, just have a weekly touch base with them. Even if you're a sophomore, like, talk to them about, strategy or something to, that will guide you to your job. And, always have a mentor, reach out to people for help, especially in the fashion industry. It's all about, networking, and everyone's here to help. So work hard. I know sometimes you can be delivering coffee or something you don't want to do, but have a good attitude, For me, I would always be like, oh my God, this is the coolest building. Like, I'm delivering coffee, but it's still a cool building, So just have a good attitude, because you never know. It can lead into something that can lead into your dream job, So, but always communicate with your supervisor, and because sometimes we don't mean to get busy, but sometimes your bosses will get so busy they'll forget to touch base with you. So just have touch base with them. And it's also very expensive living in New York. So if you're a senior and you want to live here, you need to kind of have a kind of set plan. So my thing is communicate with your supervisor and network with mentors, because it's very important, and everyone's here to help.
I'd also say, like, when you are approaching someone to get hired, always have something to back yourself up. Like, always have, like, at least 3 things to say, like, oh, I, grew our Facebook following by, X. I did this and I did this, so you're gonna hire me? Don't just be like, oh, so am I getting hired? Like, even if they know you've done these things, like, you telling them that I've done X, Y, and Z just knows that they know that you want to do this, and I think it puts you in a better position. And yeah, as Hillary said, like, always, take the initiative to set meetings up yourself. I think that was one thing that I struggled with when I first started interning, was like, oh, I don't know, they're like higher up, I don't know if I could even like say, hey, can I talk to you? Just do it. Because they're not gonna do it, they're too busy. So just, go up to them and be like, hey, can we have like 10 minutes, to talk about my future here. So yeah, and also definitely like, while having points to back yourself up, try to find something that they need to improve on. Because it's not going to offend them, unless they take it personally, and then you probably shouldn't work there anyway. But like, if there's something that they need to improve on, definitely like speak up and say how you can fix that.
Yes.
When you say they need to improve on, are you talking about the brand or the company specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, yeah, so like if you're, like for example, I work for HuffPo Style, and we didn't have a huge presence on like Pinterest and Tumblr, which we should have had. So, going into one, I think I had the am I getting hired conversation about like 5 times before I actually got hired. And, every time I was like, like you aren't doing this and you need to be here. You need to be present. You are such a big brand. Why aren't you doing this? And I think that gets them thinking, they're like, oh yeah, maybe she's right. And maybe she's the perfect person to do this if she's very passionate about it. So yeah, definitely I guess higher ups.
And those were amazing answers. How can you learn to speak with more authority at your internship?
Try and leave the text talk, how we speak to our friends, outside before you go to work. Think about what it is that you want to say before you're actually saying it, and make sure that you're presenting it in a way that you want it to come across. I found it to be very difficult because I was interning while I was in school to kind of separate the two and come off more professional, because I had never been in a professional setting. I'd been a student and then was submerged into a professional setting. So it also helps to take a look at how people around you, your higher ups, your bosses, your supervisors, are speaking to each other, are communicating with each other, and take note of that, because that's how you also want to present yourself. You want the people that you're working for to feel like you're a fit in their company. And I know I had heard that in school, you have to kind of cater yourself towards the company that you want to be in, figure out what the culture is there, and try and, not exactly change yourself, but tweak a little bit just so that you fit within that company's culture, so they can see you there already. That was hard for me to hear, because I was always a person like, no, I don't care. If they're not going to hire me, whatever, I'm going to do whatever I want to do because it's my life. But you also want to make money at the end of the day, and you want to be a part of a company that you enjoy working for. Every company is not going to be the right fit, and you can't force it. But if you can see yourself there, try and take note of how things happen in that organization, and mold a little bit. You have to be adaptable in anything you do. So that would be my advice on that.
Okay, wow. So I think this is a really interesting question, because we all have different personalities. Some of us are shy, some of us are loud, like me. I'm pretty loud. I'm from Texas, so like I come from a pretty loud family. And sometimes for me, I'll be in a big conversation and I'll accidentally blurt something out without thinking. And I'll be like, wait, what did I do? Oh my God. So I think, first start the internship and, build those relationships the first, 2 to 3 weeks. Don't think you're better than everyone, because that's the worst. I don't care what you do, where you're from, whatever. If you're the president's daughter, it doesn't matter. Like, you are an intern, you're there to work hard, and you're there to help the team. And so those first few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I think would be best. Build those relationships, slowly get to know everyone, let everyone get to know you. And, you know, the more like tasks you're given and projects and, you know, prove yourself. Like, you know, every project you turn in, make sure you double check it and, you know, make sure you're asking questions, because the more you're building these relationships with your employees and everyone, like, the more they'll trust you, and they need to gain trust in you before they, you know, before you can take initiative and you can speak up and feel like you're part of something. And every time, you know, to all my interns, I'm like, you're part of my team. Even though you're an intern, you know, I'm giving you tasks that I should be doing, but I can't because I have to do other things, you know. So interns are just as important as my employees and coworkers, you know. So make sure you build the relationships first. Don't like automatically like start speaking up, because I think that it just doesn't look good in my opinion. So build your relationships first, ask a lot of questions, prove yourself, you know, and then the more you get to know everyone, start to speak up and feel like you're proud and feel confident in yourself. And, you know, at the end of the day, age doesn't matter either. That's another thing that you should know. Like, I don't care if you're 18 and you're interning, if you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job, you know. And, you know, maybe the president's sitting in a meeting and they ask you a question. Maybe it's like a table, you're at a conference or something, and she asks you a question and you answer the question. She's like, wow, you know, like, feel confident in yourself, but definitely make sure to build the relationships first and kind of prove yourself before you kind of start, you know, jumping the gun and everything. I think that's sometimes people get nervous and they think, they're like, wait, am I doing a good job? Like, what? You know, of course you're doing a good job. Like, as you probably both know, like, interns are my little angels. Like, if I didn't have interns, I don't know what I would do. Like, you guys are awesome. So just make sure you build relationships, even if you're shy. Like, I love shy people, you know? So, like, just slowly get to know everyone.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, yeah, I think you need to recognize that you are worth where you are. I think that's a hard thing for interns to kind of like internalize, because you're like, oh, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, like nobody cares about what I'm doing, you know, but they do, obviously. Like, you were hired there for a reason, and I think that helps with speaking to everyone, because I think once you know you're worth it and you're like, oh, well, I belong here, let me talk like I belong here. Don't be quiet. Like, if you're in a meeting, like, at least have one idea to bring to the meeting and, you know, just express yourself. I mean, like, you know, you have to be adaptable, but I think also still, you know, play up your quirk of how you communicate things and how, you know, you effectively do work, because I think that shows that you also are versatile and stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely just be confident. Don't think, you know, nobody cares about you, because they do. You're saving them a lot of time, so. Yeah.
I'm just gonna put my little input. I have an internship. I absolutely agree. When you have an internship, you're there for a reason. Your resume was excellent. They hired you for a reason. You just have to break out of the shyness and speak out. That's what I do, and I'm interning there for like 4 months now, and it's amazing. And I got a higher position already.
And yeah, well, actually, also, you know, like, just not even like in your speaking, like in your writing. Like, I applied to 17, like my senior year of college, and wrote this ridiculous cover letter about like Justin Bieber, like ridiculous. And you know, and it got me hired because they were like, oh, you know exactly, like, know the voice, like she said, know the voice of your company, and even if it's like the silliest thing, like when I applied to BuzzFeed, I wrote a love letter to Pinterest. And you know, and they were like, oh, weird, like that's weird, but that's actually cool. You know what you're talking about. Just don't be afraid to be yourself, but also speak like, you know, the place you want to work at.
I did it by designing their website 2 days ago. So that's how I did it. So next question. What is the most crushing rejection you have faced? How did you get past or even benefit from it?
For me, I feel like I think I already told you guys, not being hired full-time after putting in over a year of interning and temping at the same location. When my supervisor sat me down and told me that there was no room in the budget for them to hire me, I almost wanted to cry right there because I felt like I had worked so hard, I was passionate about it, and I didn't understand why they couldn't make room, or, I felt rejected. But at the same time, I realized that, if it's not meant to be here, I'm gonna find something. It's not the end of the world. And also, I learned so much from working there. So much I learned. And I was able to use that to get the job that I love now, So I wouldn't look at every rejection as an actual rejection. Just look at it as, okay, that happened, time to move on. It's a stepping stone, Like I said, you learn from that experience. Just take away everything that you can from it and then use it for the next thing. Also, I was able to keep in contact with some of the people who worked there. And actually, when was it? Maybe like 2 months ago, the vice president of wholesale called me and asked me what I was doing, wanted to catch up. And when I told him where I was, he was like, whoa, we missed the boat on you, we should have kept you. It's nice to have that. So don't look at every rejection as an absolute failure, because something great could spring out of it.
I actually have two things. I'm going to first start with reject. So again, going back to like freshman year, I don't really know if any of y'all are freshmen, but at LIM you had to have an internship. And this was my first, I actually started nannying in New York in the summers when I was 16, so I kind of knew a little bit about New York, but I didn't really know much about like the work environment here. So freshman year, when I found out we had to have a retail internship, I was like, what? Like, what? I don't even know where to start. So I applied to literally like 50 places. I just wanted to get something and like get my feet on the ground, sorry. So I was like going into stores, like getting, applications. I was doing online things, having interviews, and no one's ever said no to me, no one. Getting into college is a little different, but like hearing job-wise, no one had ever said no, you're not accepted, whatever. And that was hard. That was like, even going to the interviews, it's a lot of work and like you have to prep and this and that. And hearing someone say no, even though you think you gave your everything, and it's hard. No, hearing no and getting rejected is the hardest thing for us, I think. But from what I learned is having an interview to me seems like eating a piece of cake. Like, it's so easy, and you get like in interviews, like that's something you need to be a rock star at. Like, the more interviews you have, the better it is. And don't beat yourself up if someone says no to you, because you're in New York City. There's so much opportunity here. Like, if you're a freshman or if you're applying for jobs, apply to over 40. Like, my thing is, the more you apply to, the better. And you get your name out there more, and you get to meet more people, and just think about the positive things. Like, oh my God, you're networking with this company. Like, even though they said no to me, I still met them, So it's just important. Don't beat yourself up if someone says no to you. Keep going, keep fighting. There's definitely a lot of opportunity out there. So it's just a matter of putting a lot of effort and time into it. So that's my first. My second thing is, I'll make this quick, is now that I have a job, the biggest rejection I've gotten is kind of when I first started. I had to do a huge project and I had to present it to the team, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I messed up. There was a huge mistake in the presentation, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like the worst person. Like, I couldn't even function almost. And I didn't let people know that. But, at the end of the day, we all make mistakes. So do not beat yourself up. but my one thing is double check your work, triple check your work. This was kind of when I first started, so you know when you first start a job, you're like nervous and you're like trying to be perfect and you think it's perfect and you even take it home to work on it. Just double check, like, and if you mess up, guys, keep going. Like, we all make mistakes. We're humans, you know, like no one's perfect. So again, don't beat yourself up. I think the most important thing is, you know, even like yesterday work, something happened, I was like, oh, well, gotta move on. Like, you know, you gotta power through, move on, because you have to work through your mistakes. And, you know, if you make a mistake, fix it, and you've learned from that, you know? So just don't beat yourself up when you make a mistake or if someone rejects you. Keep going, because that's what makes us stronger too. So, I mean, hearing no to me, I'm just like, no to me now is just like, okay, I'll move on to the next thing. You know, and that's what you want to be. You want to feel so confident in yourself and so proud that you can just move on to the next thing. No matter what you do, school, homework, whatever it is. So just like building your confidence and feeling proud about yourself and feel good in everything you do, even if you mess up. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I have a good friend who always says rejection is God's protection, which I've revised to like rejection is someone's, you know, protection. Yeah, I mean, one of the hardest things that I had to do was when I was actually in college, I applied to be in our media studies program and it was really selective and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get in. Didn't get in. And I was like, this is, you know, this is it. I'm not getting any internships. I don't have any connections with this program. But then like a week later, I was like, oh no, I just have to hustle harder. And that's what you have to do. You just have to like take it upon yourself to be like, all right, I didn't get that, but I'm gonna be better than that thing I didn't get. And I think that's something, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's a little cocky, but I mean, you guys are all here. I assume you're confident in yourself. You guys are go-getters. So I think, you know, it's okay to sometimes think, all right, well, I'm just gonna get something better than what you didn't give me. And you sometimes need to be selfish and remind yourself of that, because I think it just helps you do you in the end. Yeah.